you're in HR or leadership and you're worried about people faking personality tests at your job, this is for you. Or if you just hate these things and want to know what goes into them. Many people hate personality tests for hiring because they perceive that they are easy to fake and they're useless and even discriminatory. A lot of applicants get a bad taste in their mouth when they have to take a personality test. And your candidates aren't necessarily wrong to feel that way. This has been a debate in our field, industrial organizational psychology, for a long time. For those of you who are new to my page, my field of psychology focuses on psychometrics and way to measure actual behaviors at work and tie them to outcomes. Specifically, I research the unwritten rules of work and work on quantifying them and making them measurable. There are really kind of two camps in our field on personality testing. While we generally agree as a field that personality testing can be useful as long as the personality characteristic is required to do the job, we're usually fine with that. Where the debate is on if faking happens and if it matters. One camp says faking is very unlikely, and even if it does happen, the scores are still correlated with good job performance, so they're measuring something useful anyway. The other camp says faking is a problem. We need to design our psychometrics in a way that makes it harder to fake. Now, keep in mind, I am talking about actual psychologically valid assessments and not something somebody made up in their basement or put on a BuzzFeed quiz, okay? This is not about the MBTI or the Enneagram. This is like the Big Five personality assessment. Now, my issue is I research the unwritten rules of work for people from working class backgrounds and neurodivergence with intersections of race and gender. I have been researching for 10 years all the way that office politics influences who gets promoted and who is rewarded for having good performance. And people who do office politics well are often referred to as what? Bullshitters. So to me, when I see the research on if you're faking, we're still seeing correlations with job performance, I'm like, yeah, that's part of the problem. Maybe someone who's bullshitting is being rewarded for bullshitting. And that's far more of a problem than a personality assessment in a hiring, just in the hiring. That's a like culture problem in your organization. But one of the ways, if you care about this, to try to combat faking is to have forced choice options. So what is normally used are the normative scales of things like rate from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Things like I enjoy exploring new ideas and concepts. I reach out or I seek out new experiences even if they involve some risk, etc. A lot of people perceive those as fakeable because there's some of them that people respond to just because they know it's socially desirable, especially if they're neurotypical. Ipsative, or forced choice, offers alternatives that people have to choose, and all of them are socially desirable or all of them are socially undesirable, and it forces people to make a choice. It is more complicated psychometrics on the back end to score this, but it is possible. You just need people who know what they're doing. The thought being that it reduces bias because both will be socially desirable or undesirable, and the person will still be prioritizing what's important to them. Because I have been trained on evaluating forced choice, I chose a forced choice model with my diagnostic quiz on identifying which unwritten rules of work you need to prioritize in your work environment. And I built this off of the qualitative and quantitative data that I've been collecting over the past several years on the unwritten rules and their impact. And the purpose is so that business leaders have an option to choose and prioritize which are impacting them the most. So for example, we miss opportunities because my team doesn't flag problems until they're expensive to fix. That is one of the unwritten rules that could be sabotaging you. A different one could be project stall because people won't collaborate or share what they know. Which one is happening the most right now? What is your top priority? And I go through all of them. I have 8 unwritten rule groups, so there's 4 questions. We lose time and money on misunderstanding priorities and unclear expectations, or our best performers are burning out while others coast. I have found this gives me a place to start with leaders when we're doing diagnostics and figuring out a path forward. So consider this technique when you are hiring, and you'll need someone trained. So what do you think? Is forced choice worth the effort, or do you think the normative method is just as good? If you have any questions about this, or if you want to talk about any of those unwritten rules that I showed, you can take my quiz at drkarlschmidt.com/quiz, and it'll direct you to the link to book a 20-minute call with me to go over which rules are sabotaging your organization and what the options you have are.